Alright, for everybody listening, who else is over this bullshit about Venezuela? Period. I don't give a fuck anything else. Who is over this bullshit about Venezuela? Mark, aren't you over this bullshit about Venezuela?
I think everyone is.
I hate... This is the one thing everybody hates about the right. They say, oh, the left wants Venezuela. They want socialism. Socialism is for another topic. But who? Who the fuck brought up Venezuela? Noam Chomsky? Nyet. No. Kyle Klinsky, Jimmy Dore, TYT, CBS, MSNBC, CNN? Nyet. No. So, who on the left brought up Venezuela? Nobody. Nobody credible, at least. That's what pisses me off. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said nothing about Venezuela. She doesn't like Venezuela. She doesn't like Maduro. She cares about the Venezuelan people, the people who are hardworking and don't give a fuck about communism or capitalism. All they give a fuck about is their well-being, which you can understand with what's going on in Venezuela. Kyle Klinsky, Jimmy Dore, TYT said nothing about that. HQ with Emma Vigeland, I believe her name is, said nothing about it. Barbara Lee. No, nobody. Not even Nancy fucking Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who are establishment Democrats, said nothing about Venezuela. I don't get where this whole thing about Venezuela comes from. This whole... Well, besides the oil, which we'll get to in a little bit. But... Other than that, I don't get what this whole thing about is with Venezuela. We want to socialize certain programs of the U.S. And that means we want to socialize and make socialism the 100% unique thing in America. That's fucking ridiculous. Socializing certain programs, for example, like the fire department and the police department, is not the same as socialism. It's not the same as Venezuela. Venezuela is never gonna be like the United States, and the United States is never gonna be like Venezuela. When we socialize Medicare for all, when we socialize education, when we socialize certain things so people aren't fucking poor and the middle class isn't dying, that's not making Venezuela America. That's making America even better than Venezuela. Socialism has certain aspects that work and certain aspects that are just ridiculous. And you butt in because I am honestly a little upset. Like, well, I've been hearing this for too long.
I really wanted to leave that specific thing and just go over to the powers in play here in the whole Venezuelan scene in this world.
You're right. I've made enough. I made a big enough point on the whole issue with
socialism and left.
And how that... Yeah. Continue, please.
So, who do we have on the world stage here coming up?
Well, we do have Russia as being a part on Venezuela, yes, which is a big issue.
It's a big issue.
If not the biggest issue.
Probably one of the biggest issues when it comes to Venezuela. Because, no matter what those governments say, the main reason everybody's there is the oil, especially Russia.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Which I will show right now for you guys. I'm going to edit it in. John Bolton pointed it out on Fox Business Network. It's all about the oil. It's all about American...
They admitted the fact that it's about the oil.
Exactly. It's all for American businesses, quote-unquote. American businesses to make a profit. Like Citgo, I believe it was, that was in Venezuela and is no longer in Venezuela to make money. And it was an oil company, like a gas station. Yeah, that's all it is about. Venezuela has nothing the fuck to do with Americans besides immigration. And I know, like, oh, okay, we're not going to touch on immigration right now. It's a topic for another day, or we already touched on it, whatever. But the point is, the whole thing with Venezuela has nothing to do with immigration, has nothing to do with terrorism, it has nothing to do with their access power against us.
All has to do with money.
Money and oil. Money, oil, power. That's it.
Isn't that what it's always been about, though? And see, I feel like we all kind of knew this, like, even if you don't really follow politics or anything like that, you knew that was the case. They just never really said it out loud.
Well, that's where we disagree, because there are people who are older than us. I mean, guys, I get it. We're young. We're coming into the world new, etc., etc. But we're the generation that can learn from everything said from people our age and above. Everything that is cataloged, that isn't classified, can be seen. We can see it. Just because we're young doesn't mean we're not able to see it. And that's the whole thing, is we're able to see everything when it comes to Venezuela and our whole foreign policy and everything like that. It is ridiculous. We are young people coming into the world. Most of you who are listening to this honestly think that we are, I mean, we're not comparable to fucking CNN, and CNN's a bunch of fucking bullshit. But we still know what we're talking about, because it's easily seen. This shit is about oil. This shit is about money and power. Ever since World War II, I'll bring it up if you guys want to look it up, though. I think it's called globalsearch.ca. It's the website you can go to see what any region of power in the world has done on the world stage. And it shows how many countries we've bombed, the U.S., how many countries we've invaded. We've killed, I think it was 20 million people, and I believe it was innocent civilians since World War II. 20 million innocent civilians. And not to mention, the Iraq War was 200,000 innocent civilians. And
all for the sake of oil and money and power.
It's seriously, I mean, the people who did 9/11, not just Saudi Arabia, we're talking about Osama bin Laden. Okay, take away 9/11. Osama bin Laden, the terrorist, period. We propped him up with the UK. Margaret Thatcher, I'm so stupid. Margaret Thatcher. She was a part of it. She agreed that these people, the Mujahideen, are supposed to be believed. They're supposed to be fighters of freedom because of communism, etc., etc., etc.
This was the same thing in Afghanistan with the Taliban.
Oh, dude, the whole thing with Afghanistan and Taliban, yeah, agreed. Bullshit. Because the goalpost has moved, as has been pointed out by progressive leftists and journalists, is that the goalpost has moved. Okay, we need to go get Osama bin Laden. Alright, we got him. What's next? The Taliban. Okay, well, Taliban control most of the area. Or I think what was next was like the Al-Qaeda and then the Taliban and all this bullshit. And the American people didn't ask what's next. They said, okay, we ready to leave. Yeah, I'm asking what's next.
Because they're having troops that are, they're trying to go to their families.
I was 100% willing to die for my country until they said you're medically not able to go. But I was willing to die for my country, but I wouldn't want to die in Iraq for fucking nothing. It's an illegal war for a bunch of fucking bullshit.
I mean, you wouldn't be dying for something, for oil and greed. That's what you would be dying for.
I'm not Christian, but you can go fuck yourself. I'm just saying, no. I love my country. I really do. I love the American Constitution and most of the laws. Not everything about this country is perfect because I don't believe in perfectionism. But no, you can't just make up any excuse to go to war. I do believe Congress has to have a say in that. And at the same time, I do believe us as American people, working class, need to really stand up to our congressmen, House of Representatives, the Senate, local government, and deal with this shit. Because a lot of people, like my grandfather, he's a conservative. I'm more of a liberal. I'm a progressive, populist liberal. I follow that. I have certain libertarian views on not socialist, but social issues. We're different. Him and I are two different peas in a pod. But we still agree on a lot of certain issues because we're both equally fucked over by the establishment. Right. And that's what we need to focus on. And when it comes to war, it doesn't matter if you're left or right. They equally fucking love war. They equally love to destroy lives. I'm not a person who likes to cry. because I've cried for my own self, for my own personal reasons, and I like to move on. That's not a good thing to do as an adult. You need to move on, know how to do better. But I would rather cry for the kids for 5 minutes that we affect through foreign policy, because they deserve it. These kids damn near knew nothing about the United States. What was it? Trump's first military affection. The first thing he did with the military, killed an 8-year-old American girl. And sure, she was a Middle Eastern American girl. Whatever. But it was an 8-year-old American girl with no due process. The courts didn't do shit. Barely anybody did shit. Sure, the family tried to do something and people who cared about it. But it went nowhere. And it doesn't matter if it's Trump. You can hate Trump for that. Yes. But if Obama did the same thing, he'd get away with it too.
Yeah.
And same with Bush.
That's true, actually. That's a good point.
And, I hate Bush. Bush is honestly... there's a lot of shit he did that almost makes him really makes him worse than Obama. But what most of you would get that Obama has done a lot of terrible shit, because you know about policy, you know about what Barack Obama has done. But people who don't know, Barack Obama has done some good, but at the same time, he has served the establishment so well, it really, really negatively affected us as working class, poor, and middle class people. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you come from. It's most likely that you are corrupt, you are for the establishment, and you are not going to listen to the word and the need of the people. Because the Democrats like to give us social needs. Yes, thank you. Gay rights. Yes. What?
That was going to happen either way.
Yes, if the Supreme Court can...
that was going to happen no matter who the president was.
Which, guys, I'm not against gay rights. I have gay uncles. I'm bisexual myself. It doesn't really affect me. It doesn't affect my uncle. It doesn't affect anybody if you're gay. But, you can't just throw out there, I'm for gay rights. I'm for transgender people. I'm for people who believe in 64 different fucking genders, and expect that to be the answer for the fucking base of the Democratic Party. That's not the base. The base is, we have economic struggles. Fix them or leave. That's it.
Because gender, all that stuff, it doesn't really affect as much people as all the financial problems that we have in the country.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, guys. I know we were talking about Venezuela and how they try to.
We digress back to Venezuela.
They're trying to do a coup on Venezuela that's completely unnecessary. And I know we went to a whole bunch of other stuff, but it matters. It really matters, because they try to make Venezuela seem important when the things that we brought up, as Mark and I were trying to say, are way more important to you as American people, as struggling class people, than it is to fucking occupy Venezuela, a Latin American country that can't even fucking destroy California. They can't even bomb California. Fuck Venezuela. They can kiss my personal ass. Maduro can kiss my ass. He can't do shit. It's all for oil. It's all for power.
It's all for oil. It's all for power. Russia and the U.S. are kind of playing those
geopolitical bullshit. It's nothing but geopolitics.
Like they used to do back in the Cold War.
And we were going to have a whole podcast episode about the relations between Russia and the U.S. Mm-hmm. But the reason we stopped that is because
we were waiting for something
bigger, true, but at the same time, it's too much. It's too much to converse about in one episode. You guys don't want to hear usually a 45-minute episode about something.
This would last like an hour, though.
It would. You're a Russian, an American Russian. I'm an American that I honestly believe the beauty in Russian culture, Russian language, etc., as much as I believe the beauty in American culture and in English language, and the way that Americans slang their English, not anyone else but Americans, because they come from It's a melting pot, yes. But this whole thing with Russia is ridiculous. The governments that have nuclear-armed powers, I'm sorry, guys. The United States and Russia have more than enough nuclear capabilities
to destroy the world over, like, multiple times, basically, yeah.
Exactly.
So really, when things like this happen
In
between Russia and
Venezuela,
the U.S., is all very, very delicate.
it's all
situation.
serious stuff. I mean, and Venezuela has a lot to do with that. I know we were talking about it has everything to do with the oil, but at the same time, when Russia decided to claim alliance with Venezuela, well, okay, I don't give a fuck about the Russian government. I love Russian people. And I'm trying not to be a fucking asshole towards the Russian government. Just for Americans' sake, for their safety. But Russians came into the backyard of Americans. And at that point, yes, you have, as an American government, the ability to say this is a little too much. But newsflash for everybody who doesn't know, and for the American government because they like to pretend, you went into the backyard of Russia. You went into the backyard in the sea of Russia. You went into the Black Sea.
Oh, no, they've been doing that. I mean, it's been happening.
Well, I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, especially
with all
now,
this
too.
serious shit that's going on,
Yeah.
American administrations, I don't give a fuck if it's Barack Obama or Trump, you all have been affecting it negatively. And I'm not giving any excuse for Maduro. I'm not giving any excuse for Vladimir Putin. But at the same time, as an American citizen who pays more taxes than he should,
We're not
like the
doing
rich,
things to help the situation either. So.
yeah, I don't really, yeah. Hearing that you're giving a fuck about Russian stuff that has nothing to do with my well-being is kind of, not kind of. You're a fucking asshole. Yeah. Get out of politics.
And especially when we spend all that money.
All that money. Dude.
On things that really don't affect us.
You and I are both poor. We're doing this podcast not to become rich. We're not doing this podcast to become famous. We're doing this podcast to get the word out for political reasons. We need people to understand the policy and politics overall of U.S. politics. Yeah. We don't do this for money. We're not going to get money off this unless it's for the show specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And the only money we're going to get is from our low-paying jobs and the good-paying jobs that we're going to get in the future after doing years and years of schooling and getting in debt.
Yeah, because that's how
it works in America.
Because that's how you get money. You first have to go into a lot of debt.
So point being...
And then spend the rest of their life paying that debt off.
Exactly. So point being is, a lot of that, what you heard, proves Venezuela is a bunch of bullshit. One, nobody on the left who has credible knowledge says anything about Venezuela that's a good thing. Two, the policies we do want to implement have nothing to do with Venezuela, and Venezuela should actually take a fucking page out of the policies we want to follow and do that. Three, and the most important, Fox News at least needs to try and cover their bullshit a little bit more. Just a little bit, because there are people like us. People like Kyle, Jimmy Dore, TYT with Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, etc. There's the guy, I forgot his name. He is some Middle Eastern dude who also does progressive left stuff, who is less known than the people I commented on. He even knows. People know. Regular people who don't give a shit about talking about politics, but it affects them and they realize this shit. No. They know. You need to stop this shit. If Vladimir Putin came out and said, you know what, we need to do some military checks with the U.S. and see what's going on there and maybe get in some serious confrontations with them, okay, then we can kind of start to have a conversation. Not kind of. We can definitely have a conversation about...
definitely have a conversation about that.
Yeah. But when it comes to this whole thing, one, I don't give two flying fucks or 2 cents about Venezuela. I wouldn't give you my own 2 cents about what's going on in Venezuela. You know why? Because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect the people that live here that are poor and middle class. And you know motherfucking what? It's none of my goddamn business. It really isn't. Not right now, at least. If my country, if the United States was not only the wealthiest country in the world, but it paid for its people to be wealthy, well then, at the end of the day, then I guess I wouldn't be a bitch. But that's not how the world works. That's not how government should work. And that's a bunch of fantasy bullshit. So, it's the same thing with Venezuela. It's the same thing with saying the left loves Venezuela. Fantasy bullshit. Period.
And the last thing we just wanted to point out, that's this whole Venezuelan topic, is of course that, well, like a lot of people already knew it was all about the oil. Geopolitical.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. It was definitely all about the oil, and
none of
as
the
we showed you...
None of the governments give a crap about the actual citizens of Venezuela. It's not for their sake at all, no matter what they say.
I'll put it up right now. Again, because I'll put it up twice earlier when I pointed it out, and right now, 20 minutes in, 21 minutes in, I'll show you again. John Bolton, who is part of the Trump administration, national advisor, blah, 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 blah.
He literally said it himself.
I'll actually correct myself. I don't know if he's national advisor. The point is, he has something to do with foreign policy. And he said it himself, as you said. It's all about the oil, mineral rights, bullshit. We have... he says American companies to worry about. Well, I'm not saying fuck those American companies, but, you know, Amazon kind of likes to fuck over us, because I could be an Amazon worker, but they'd like to fuck me over, and they like to treat us as independent contractors, as we covered with the whole Silicon Valley tech billionaires that are fucking over people who work for Instacart and DoorDash. Yeah, that's where the U.S. government comes in for regulations. And you can call it socialism all motherfucking day. You can call it all socialism all day. But that's what the government's for. If you think it's not there, or if you think it's there for anything else but us as the people, okay, yeah, go back to U.S. history in high school and let's re-talk about all of this shit. Anyways, this whole Venezuela controversy is a bunch of bullshit. Do not trust any of the shit that comes from the right. You all know, anybody who knows anything knows that Fox News is a bunch of bullshit. And if you guys that are listening that are new know nothing about Fox News, please, for the love of God, literally, you know, I personally like to say I love things for the love of science. Mark here for the love of God. But for the love of God and fucking science, please don't fucking listen to Fox News with seriousness. Take it with a grain of salt. They're a questionable organization, and you can take us with a serious grain of salt. You can look up everything we're saying. I say it with serious dignity because we look up as much as we can, as much as you could.
We don't try to take sides. We just go on the facts.
Exactly. And if, okay, let's say hypothetically, because I am a leftist, I'll admit it. I am a populist left person. I believe in progressivism. People ask me, well, is that because of your personal opinion? Sure, lightweight on certain issues, but when it comes to economic things, no, I'm progressive because economically, progressivism is the best way to go for people, based on the fact that everything else we've tried is garbage. Because people are still very, very, very poor. 70% of this country works paycheck to paycheck. I don't have to explain it anymore. If you work paycheck to paycheck, or if you have to worry about a certain dollar amount of money, you are definitely the poorer person in this country, but you're also the most important. So again, you know, guys, look this shit up. Venezuela is a bunch of bullcrap. It's a bunch of military-industrial complex crap. Oil, money, power. That's it. Anything else, Mark?
Nope, that's it.